Hello, hello, hello. It is Friday. Happy Friday to each and every one of you listening. And thank you for joining us here on the platform of Camouflaged Beauty. This and every Friday at 5 p.m., you get me and a glass of wine. All month long, we are celebrating love, relationships, and intimacy in honor of Valentine's Day. But first, we pause and take this opportunity to pay respect to the African American community in recognition of National African American History Month, better known as Black History Month. I'm still drinking Black Girl Magic from the McBride sisters, two African American women sisters who happen to own a winery, and it's pretty dope. They are available at Target, so feel free to go out and grab you a bottle of wine and let me know what you think about the Black Girl Magic from the McBride sisters. Did you know? On this day in 1909, the NAACP, or the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, was founded. The NAACP was established in response to the ongoing violence against Black people around the country. It is the largest and most preeminent civil rights organization in the nation with over 2,200 units, as well as over 2 million activists. Their mission is to secure the political, educational, social, and economic equality for all people. All people. Check out their information online and get involved in this and other organizations in the community that strive to promote equality for all. We'll be right back. You're listening to Camouflaged Beauty, a podcast of shared experiences for military women. Today, we're talking divorce, and the decision to end a relationship can be traumatic, chaotic, and filled with all kinds of contradictory emotions. Divorcees often feel shock, betrayal, insecurity, anger, and sometimes we even want to reconcile. Today, my guest shares her story of surviving a divorce while wearing the uniform. Nne-Nna Carr, welcome to the platform. How are you?
I am well, surviving the DC life as much as I can. How are you?
I'm great. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay, my name is Nne-Nna. I am a veteran, fresh out for the last 2 years almost. Yay. I left the veteran life to enter full-time entrepreneurship. I am the co-owner of Evisha Luxury Hookah. I must say we are the first Black-owned hookah brand. Very proud of that. I also am the owner of Kweens Kleaning, a residential cleaning company based in the DMV area. I am also the owner of Kweens Kocktails, mobile bartending service in the DMV area as well.
Nice. Well, Nne-Nna, I'm proud to say that I know you personally, and you have a lot of different businesses, and you're just involved in so many positive things in the Black community. So shout out to you for that specifically, because it is February and we are celebrating Black History Month. So let's talk about this divorce. But first, let's talk about your time being in love in the marriage.
So in my time of being in love, my ex-husband, we met when we were 12, actually. So we were elementary school sweethearts, and we got married right after I joined the military, literally right in tech school. So we were together from elementary school off and on up until tech school. We got married in 2006 and we divorced in 2012. But in between then, it was great. Like, he was one of those men. It had its ups and downs, but for the most part, it was a great experience. He was a great husband. He just had some issues that he had to work out. But it was, the experience of being in love was awesome. I love being in love. I love being committed to someone. So that part of it was absolutely amazing. However, just going through the times and trials was difficult, but overall, I love love. So it was a good run while it lasted for the most part. But we got a child from it. I have a 12-year-old daughter from my marriage, which was a blessing. So whatever happened between that is always a blessing to have a daughter and still have those memories.
Absolutely. So I hear that you guys got married in tech school. So how do you think enlisting in the military, impacted your decision to get married?
I will say it impacted it greatly because, to be perfectly honest, I realize now, truly learning myself that I'm not the marriage type. I'm not really big into marriage, but me being in the military, you know how it works with the benefits, and you get to live off base and you get to have all these benefits, and everyone's so well taken care of. So it was a major, major, major factor into why I got married. Plus, you know, with moving around, you wanted to make totally sure that person was going to the next base with you. So that was like the easiest way to do it. So I will say, honestly, being in the military was the deciding factor for me to get married.
Got you. So your husband was a civilian, correct?
Yes.
All right. So what do you think were some advantages or disadvantages to being a military member married to a civilian?
Well, as far as the advantages, especially for me, because I did well in the military, but I never considered myself the military type. So it was nice that when I came home, I could be human again. You know what I mean? I didn't always have to be, you know, talking about military stuff. I loved having a break from it. So I love to be able to come home and sit down with him and just talk about regular stuff. Like, let's talk about the news and sports, or let's talk about celebrity gossip or whatever, anything except military stuff all the time. So that was a major plus. Another thing that was great about it was flexible for him. It opened his horizons a lot because he got to experience a lot of things through me being in the military that he wouldn't have been able to experience otherwise. So that was nice that I was able to provide that for him.
Gotcha. Nice. What about the disadvantages? Did you guys experience any disadvantages because you were military and he was civilian?
Yes, absolutely. It was on the flip side, how it was great that he kind of understood, but he didn't understand a lot of things when it came to military life. He didn't really understand like the schedules and how I had to do what I was told no matter what. And I didn't have a choice. He didn't understand the idea of, you don't have a choice. You have to do this. You can't tell them no, because his response was always, just tell them no. And I'm like, I can't do that. And on top of that, it's like for my marriage, he blamed me for a lot of things that he didn't get to do in life because he was always, as he put it, following me around. So that was a major disadvantage. And on top of that, it was just difficult, like on the flip side, how I love being able to give him new opportunities, I also hated that I kind of took opportunities away and took him away from his family and took him away from everything he did. And I do understand that that is a big, big sacrifice for a civilian, because you're literally giving up everything for the person you love. And I know that's really hard when you're not the one who signed up for that. So I had guilt, for that. But I mean, he was okay with it for the most part, but every time an argument came up, it was, I didn't ask to be here. And I'm like, you're right. I can't say anything. So,
absolutely. Absolutely. So unfortunately, I have experience in that area as well. Let's unpack that for a little bit, because, it's easy to say, well, you knew what you were signing up for, right? Because you knew I was military when you met me. But sometimes we take for granted the sacrifice that those civilian members make, giving up everything that they know and heading to a new base without a support system. So I commend you for highlighting that as well. So when this marriage fell apart, as they unfortunately sometimes do, was the military there to support you?
To be honest, not until it got bad. Because for my situation, there was domestic violence situations. It wasn't until it hit the fan with that, where the cops were being called. And then they weren't that helpful, to be honest. But I did get linked with a very, very good, excellent, I would love her to life victim advocate in the process. Now, that was the military's doing, so I will give them that credit because she was amazing in helping me get through it. So I will say they helped me in that aspect, but they actually let me go to the support groups. And my supervisor at the time was excellent about allowing me time to go. So I will say they were very flexible in saying, okay, you know what, you can take a break today and go to, your support group, which I don't think I would have been afforded that opportunity had I been a civilian, because work is work, a civilian. But that whole person concept came in handy when it was time for me to actually go to the support groups and go get the counseling that I needed. And there were no resources given to me. However, when I did some research on my own, I did find some good resources.
Right. Wow. So you were in the military, NCO, mother, going through domestic violence situations, which is absolutely unfortunate. And do you think that maybe your unit or your supervision at the time couldn't step in fully because they weren't aware? They may have missed the signs?
Yeah, I could say that because for me in the unit that I was in, and I'm sure this is something that a lot of women probably face in the military, I was the only woman in the unit. So it's like their response is, you'll be fine, suck it up, at first until, everything hit the fan. They're like, oh, wait, this is a problem. Now, I will give it to my leadership that once they truly realize and stop for a second and say, hey, this is a problem, they did do a very good job of making sure I was okay. Almost too good of a job, because then they started coddling me and I'm like, okay, I'm fine, golly. But I am happy. I did, at that time I had excellent leadership. And I feel like, it's just a men thing where they're just like, you're fine, it's okay, and they just didn't notice that I was kind of not okay. It took a while for them to get it, but once they got it, they were pretty good.
Right. The big brother mentality kicked in at that point.
Exactly.
Got you. What about being as an NCO and as a leader? What pressures did you feel, wearing that rank and going through some of these things?
Right. I would say the biggest thing that I faced was having to always be okay, even when you're not. Because you have to put your game face on. As soon as you shut the door to that car before you go in there, you have to say, okay, you know what? I have to step out of this human body and step into my NCO role. And sometimes I feel like people don't truly understand how big of a decision that is every day, that you literally have to, I really felt like I took my human nature and put it in a box and put it on the shelf until I got home. So it was hard because I had to be the NCO. I had to stay on top of everything. I had to make sure that I was fulfilling the requirements that I needed to do. And as you know, that's not just doing your job. You have to be physically fit. You have to be mentally fit. You have to make sure that you are being the best example that you can be. And how can you do that if you don't even know, how you're feeling at the moment? So it got hard for the most part. But again, I'll say I had excellent leadership that when things got bad, they let me be human for a minute and let me take time off. They let me, be able to have times where if I'm not feeling well, I can go to my little corner and come back when I feel better. But it was very hard as an NCO because you have to be an NCO first and then I can be Nne-Nna. And it's really rough, but I mean, I pushed through, luckily.
Yeah, you did. That is absolutely a story of resiliency. And you touched a little bit on mental health, which takes me to my question. How we often hear the stories about mental health in the military. Take a knee when necessary. Tell us that you need help if you need it. But from your perspective, how was your mental health impacted with just the balance between both NCO and mother and divorcee at the time?
My mental health was non-existent. I'm not gonna lie. Because like I said, when you step out of that car and you shut that door, you are now an NCO. And when you are an NCO, you are fulfilling the purpose of what they give you. You're not fulfilling your own, you know what I mean? You're doing what they want you to do and being everything that they outlined in that book at the time. And it's like, you have to think about every little thing that you do, how you react to things, how you talk to things. And especially as you know, being a Black woman in the military, you have to be very mindful of your actions because you don't want anything to be misconstrued that you have an attitude, or you don't want anything to be mistaken for, oh, you're being for insubordination, because that came up actually once in my time too, where it's like, I'm just not having a good day. And if I ask you nicely to just leave me alone, because I need some time, it's looked at like, oh, you have an attitude, or you're not, you don't have military bearing. And it's like, or maybe I am a single mother, divorcee, student, and and I'm having a hard time. And it's like, sometimes it takes things to hit the fan for them to realize that, okay, you know what? Maybe she's not just, being dramatic. Cause it was always, oh, maybe you're being dramatic. Why are you crying? We don't cry. You know what I mean? And it's just looked at like, it's almost like an inconvenience sometimes, where you're hindering the mission by being human sometimes. And it's like, no, I just need a minute. And it gets very hard to fulfill all those roles, because like you said, I had other hats to put on in addition to that hat. And it was just a lot. It felt like I was no longer myself. I was a clone of myself playing the part of myself. And the other part of me, the real part of me, was sitting over there staring at me like, what is wrong with you? At what point are you going to, speak up for yourself? But then you have to come back and say, but I can't. Because if I do, then it may be looked at like I'm not being a team player, when essentially I'm just trying to look out for myself. But, it gets hard trying to do it. And a lot of times they tell you, oh, you can do this and just call this person. You have all these resources. But the moment you do it, you have to worry about, is this going to affect my clearance? Is this going to, affect where I go next? Is this one, how is this going to affect my career? And they tell you that you don't have to worry about those things. Then all of a sudden it's a factor. Because especially when you have access to certain things and things like that, you have to be mindful of what you say, what you do, how you behave, because you don't want to be marked as someone not deserving of the position you hold. So it's just so much to consider, to the point where you just feel, I'm not going to feel anything, because not feeling anything is safer than feeling something and risking my livelihood. Because we all know, you get kicked out of the military, your life is basically over. So it's like, you have to consider so much. And so, like I said, it was just one of those things where I just kind of just pushed everything to the side, because it worked better for everyone.
Right. Wow. That's powerful. That's deeper than man, you just covered so much, a whole mouthful in that one sentence. Mm-hmm. So we know we cannot blame the military for divorce itself. However, how do you feel, or what do you think about being in the military and how that really perpetuates divorce, impacts relationships in a negative way, to where it could potentially lead to chaos and divorce?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it goes back to what I said in the beginning about the advantages and disadvantages, and then the disadvantages are that you are taking that person away from their family. So anytime you take someone away from the support system, it's just like when you pull a flower from its roots. You can put water in it and keep it alive for only so long sometimes. Sometimes it just needs the dirt. And when you take away the dirt, the flower could eventually die. So I feel like that's kind of how it is with military and civilians. Like, you take them out of their environment, you take them out of their comfort zone for a purpose that is not their own, and to be fair, that's kind of unfair, but it's a part of the job, and it's a part of what they inherently, sign up for with being with you. But it does take a toll on them after a while. And I do understand how that can cause anger, that can cause resentment, especially when the relationship ends and they're looking back saying, look at all the things I didn't do because of the person who I'm not even with anymore. And that's rough. So I understand that, but I do understand how I can perpetuate divorce, because it's hard. Deployments are hard. I was blessed to not have a deployment. Whew, thank goodness. But I can only imagine if someone is gone for a year or gone for 6 months, especially if you have kids and you have your kid and you are now a single parent, against your will for a certain amount of time. I mean, how is that not hard on anyone? And imagine if you have multiple children, like you're now a single mom of 4, a single dad of 4. And especially fathers, that's rough. So I feel like it perpetuates divorce in that way. And in addition to that, just like you said, having to fulfill the requirements of being on call 24/7, and you could be on a date night and get called in. It's been times where I was on a date night and I got called in, and it's hard to explain it, especially people with clearances. You can't say why. You just say, I gotta go. And I can only imagine how hard that is. So, as much as me and him don't agree on everything, I do understand how that could affect him and how that may have perpetuated anger in the divorce, to cause the divorce. But I don't condone the behavior. However, I do understand how that can play a part.
Absolutely. Do you feel that as the spouse, that even though you don't condone the behavior, do you think there's any level of guilt on your end for the things that you guys went through?
No. And the only reason why I say that is because all the things that he blamed on me weren't truly my fault. It played a part, but I feel like you saying that you didn't get to do everything you got to do in life was because of me is a cop-out in a sense, because now we've been divorced for 7 years and you're still doing the same thing that you were doing, we were still in. So was it really my fault? Had it been different, now, had he went off and went and accomplished all his dreams after he left me, there would be guilt there. But for the main things that he was complaining about, not really, because I truly feel like, you are the master of your life. You marrying me was a choice. You knew I had already enlisted, when we got together. The recruiter sat down with him and explained everything. We had multiple talks, and while I understand, I don't feel like I should accept blame for everything that he failed in life, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So I understand how I affected you. I understand how I caused the obstacle, but I'm not responsible for your barriers.
You are so correct. You are never responsible for someone else's choices or their behaviors. It is only up to them. Well, Nne-Nna, let's wrap up with any advice that you would give to women who are contemplating divorce, or B, who are contemplating a marriage, because that's a whole nother ball game too.
Thank you, girl. Okay, so if you are contemplating marriage, we will start with marriage. When we are contemplating marriage, the first thing I want to tell anyone is to make sure that you have given a deep and in-depth and detailed look into who you are marrying. Look into why you want to get married. Do you want to get married because you truly want to spend your life with that person? Or are you getting married because it seems like the thing that makes sense? A lot of times we do things just because it makes societal sense. That, we've been together for 4 years, we might as well get married. Or, I'm in the military, we might as well get married. No, do you need to be married? How will your soul, react to you being married? Is this going to grow you as a person? Is this something that's going to make you whole? A lot of times people feel like it's going to make them whole just because they can actually wear the ring and they can flaunt it around and be called a Mrs. or a Mr. or whatever the situation may be. They don't really realize the work that it takes to do it. And you have to ask yourself, are you willing to take on the whole thing of marriage outside of the wedding? Because we know a lot of people get married for the wedding. Are you ready to be that person's life partner? Are you ready to be that person's go-to person for everything? You have to look at it as a lifetime commitment. For those considering divorce, I always tell people, think about how you feel when you walk away from that person. And you have to be able to differentiate a character flaw from a mistake, because people are human. People will make mistakes. Mistakes you can work through, character flaws you cannot. So if someone is betraying something, look deep into, why they're doing it, unless it's like domestic violence or something like that. That's an automatic get out of there. But if it's something like just a small, indifference that you may have, look into it and really realize, is this something that they are doing wrong because they just don't know better? Have I not communicated correctly? Is this something that we can work on? Or is this something that is truly wrong that can't be corrected? Because even though my marriage went the way it went, my current relationship, we have had our ups and downs. And the things I've concluded with him is that he's just made some mistakes, and we worked through those, and we are better now. So I always just take the time to truly look into what you're presented with. Take advantage of all your resources. Either way, whether you're contemplating marriage or divorce, counseling is your best friend. Therapy is amazing. Go by yourself and go with them. I'm gonna repeat that one more time. Go by yourself and go with them. Go by yourself because you need to be able to learn yourself. You can't be a good mate unless you're good, you're good with you. So always, always, always remember that person is your world, not your universe. You always have to make sure you take care of you either way. So if you wanted to be married, make sure it's something that makes you whole, and someone you can't live without. If you want to get divorced, choose it for you and consider yourself in everything that you do.
Well, Nana, thank you so very much for sharing with us today. It's been amazing to hear your story of not just divorce, but really a story of resiliency. So thank you for sharing with all our listeners.
Yes, ma'am.
Tracy Les says, divorce is an embarrassing public admission of defeat. And sometimes it feels like that. It feels like you've lost. It feels like you're defeated. But sometimes it is absolutely the right decision.
Absolutely. And that thought is what kept me in my marriage probably 4 years longer than I should have, because I was worried about what other people thought.
I unfortunately have been there as well.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, y'all. That is it for me. Until next time.
Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. You can find us on the book, IG, or Twitter. Email us your stories to camobeautystories@gmail.com. That's it for me, y'all. Until next time, be kind to your body, soul, and mind.